My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Don't worry about voting. Of all the weirdness around this campaign, this is a truly strange thing to tell people, right? Don't vote. I don't need your vote. I don't want your vote. I mean, all the surface level weirdness is, worth noting. But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me. It doesn't matter if you do. I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election. He doesn't think he needs to win the election in order to take power.
Well, there it is. Rachel Maddow cutting right to the heart of it. Donald Trump, weeks before the election, saying that he doesn't need any more votes. Kind of strange, isn't it? The person who's always crying about fraud suddenly says he doesn't need any more votes. And it's like he knows the outcome of the election before it's even happened, before a single ballot is even cast. It raises the question, just how much did Donald Trump think he could control the outcome of this election? And of course, this isn't the last that we hear on the subject. Far from it, actually. Next thing you know, he's telling his fans to cast multiple ballots to actually break the law. Here it is in his own words.
Your ballots, if you get the unsolicited ballots, send it in and then go make sure it counted. And if it doesn't tabulate, you vote. You just vote. And then if they tabulate it very late, which they shouldn't be doing, they'll see you voted and so it won't count. So send it in early and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote. And the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away. These people are playing dirty politics. Dirty politics.
Unbelievable. The man who calls himself the defender of democracy is telling his supporters to cheat and lie. Plain and simple. And the response from his supporters? Silence. They're not appalled. They don't say, how dare you? It's like it goes in one ear and out the other. Because they've decided, with Donald Trump, the rules just simply don't apply. And it gets even stranger. Lara Trump, in a move to be, daughter-in-law of the year and support her father-in-law's ambitions, proposed a radical new change. Her suggestion? A federal election law that would override state laws. Yes, the party that's always screaming about states' rights, give it back to the states. They're so ready to throw all of that out the window when it comes to Donald Trump's interests.
I've said for a long time, and I think you've said the same thing too, we don't have a perfect system right now. We had to get through this system and we had to play the hand that we were dealt. You have election season now instead of election day, and a lot of nuance around the country that makes it very confusing and really concerning for a lot of people. Yes, maybe now is the time, once Donald Trump is inaugurated, we go forward and maybe we have something that passes so that we can have a blanket federal election process that every state abides by, and we feel really good about it all across the country. Every American deserves to know that in the United States, when you cast a vote, your vote matters and your vote counts.
And now, guys, we get to the irony of it all. Steve Kerr, a man who's seen his fair share of competition on the court, points out the hypocrisy as clear as anyone could. It seems that all claims of fraud magically disappear as soon as Trump is on the winning side. Take a listen.
I'm just thankful that there wasn't any voting fraud this time. It's last time, all those illegal immigrants who crashed the border and raped and murdered people and then voted 6 times. That was unfortunate, but thankfully this time everything was clean. So it's great that every election has been really valid, except for that last one 4 years ago. So twinkle in my eye as I say that, in case you couldn't see it. But no, I believe in democracy. I believe in the will of the people, and I will do everything I can to support my country and our government, and I want nothing but the best for us.
And the coach has got a point, you guys. This so-called integrity issue really isn't about the facts. It's about who's winning. And if you think that sounds cynical, just listen to Congressman McGovern give an even harsher reality for us. Those same people who are complaining about the fraud are the ones that have been carrying it out. Yes, the Republicans, the ones waving the fairness flag, the integrity flag, they're the ones bending the rules to suit their own agenda.
Mr. Speaker, let's set something straight. Non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections. Let me repeat that. Non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections. And if they vote, it is illegal. It is a crime. I mean, do Republicans really want to talk about the threat of voter fraud? Well, let me remind the American people, the only ones committing voter fraud in an attempt to overthrow an election are Republicans. We've seen this movie before. Following Trump's loss in the 2020 election, he and his cronies allegedly conspired to overturn the will of the American people by submitting fake electors to falsely certify that Trump won the election. He didn't win the election. He lost the election. And what did those efforts get them? Well, let me tell you. Dozens of people across 4 states have been indicted over this election fraud scheme.
And while Trump Circle pushes these narratives, it's Fox News that has to pay the price for amplifying them, to the tune of $800 million to be exact. Jessica Tarblov put it best when she called out the network for continuing to feed into Trump's election lies, all to keep their viewers happy and to keep Trump in their corner.
To say that Joe Biden is the threat to democracy, considering what Donald Trump and his band of lawyers tried to pull off in 2020, is complete insanity. I mean, he dispatched lawyers all over the country to overturn a free and fair election. A lot of them have pled out to doing this. A lot of them are still to face trial. And he's doing his darndest to make sure that he doesn't have to show up in any of these courtrooms because he's deathly afraid of what's going to happen there. And as many of these January 6th
He's not afraid of anything.
Oh, big man, not afraid, whatever.
I know him.
Okay, I'm sure you do know him, and I don't know him, but I don't think that man who doesn't want to even sleep in a hotel bed wants to go to jail. So don't refute what happened. We know about Sidney Powell. We know about John Eastman, who just got disbarred. Rudy Giuliani, who's obviously not in very good position, how the mighty have fallen.
You know, amid all this deception, there is one voice of reason. President Joe Biden. He reminds us all that to love our country means to accept its democratic process, even when it's an outcome that you don't want. You can't only love your country when you win. A simple truth that Donald Trump and his supporters can't seem to get behind.
I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature.
So where does this leave us? Donald Trump and his allies are doing everything in their power to continue to undermine the people's confidence in our election process, pushing a narrative that the system only works if they're winning. If we let this go unchecked, if we let them continue to undermine our democratic process, then we're saying that the truth simply doesn't matter, that democracy is just a game. And that's a dangerous message for the future of America, and one that cannot go unchecked.
So, as a senator, you know you're in the spotlight with the pick now of Gaetz as Attorney General. And the question is, will he make it through, confirmation? Will you vote to confirm him?
That nominee, like every other, will have a vigorous vetting, will have confirmation hearings, and every nominee is going to be judged on the merits. I will say that was a pick that was, I think, very surprising to the entirety of the Senate. And so we'll assess the nominee on the merits, but there's a process that will unfold that examines a particular nominee's background, their experience, and their suitability for a role.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and you know it is bad when even Ted Cruz can't get behind someone.
I don't know that there's a more important position in this Trump administration than Attorney General, and so I think it's critical to have someone there who will follow the law, who has integrity, who is a constitutionalist, and who has the courage to root out the incredible partisanship and weaponization that has infested this DOJ.
What do you get when you mix scandal, zero qualifications, and a taste for revenge? That's right, you get the latest pick for Attorney General of the United States, Matt Gaetz. When the news broke that Donald Trump had tapped Gaetz for the top DOJ role, jaws dropped all over the Capitol Hill. A few Republicans reportedly gasped in the hallways. Senate aides stared at each other in disbelief. And the rest of us, we just had to watch, horrified at this pick. Gaetz as Attorney General feels like a fever dream where you can't tell what's actually happening.
As you know, Gaetz is Trump's pick for Attorney General. He was the subject of an ethics committee investigation over whether he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. The committee was supposed to vote on whether to release that report on Gaetz today, but now that Gaetz has resigned from Congress, the report has been scrapped. Can he actually get confirmed, or is it not? He's not getting confirmed, and everybody knows that.
And who's cheering him on? None other than Marge the Trainwreck Green, who claimed that Matt Gaetz would be the hero to prosecute so-called vaccine crimes against humanity. Yeah, the same Marge the Trainwreck Green who spun tales of Jewish space lasers and once suggested California's wildfires might have been caused by a global elite firing beams from the sky. Now she's touting Gaetz as the champion to take down Big Pharma for COVID conspiracies she's invented.
As one sitting before you that never took the COVID vaccine, nor will I take it, thank God, I'm so glad I didn't take it. Yes, this vaccine hesitancy has risen to new heights. And I can tell you right now, I'll stand here and represent all the Americans that do not ever want to be forced to take another vaccine that the government is telling us to take after they created a deadly virus. Preparing for the next pandemic is actually recognizing that the last pandemic resulted in crimes against humanity. People that perpetuated and continue to perpetuate these crimes need to be prosecuted. And that needs to be starting in the next administration, and I'm pretty sure our next Attorney General will do that, and I look forward to seeing that happen.
This is Trump's new America. If this sounds like an episode of some dystopian reality TV show, that's because it might as well be. Gaetz isn't just unqualified. He's the antithesis of everything the DOJ is supposed to stand for. But don't take it from us. Let's imagine what the new cabinet might look like if Donald Trump has his way. What if he picks Ted Nugent as director of the ATF, a man who believes guns should outnumber people in every household? After all, it's all about protecting our Second Amendment rights, right? What if Kid Rock gets tapped to head up the EPA? Yeah, the man known for beer chugging, late parties, and tossing empty beer cans like confetti at his concerts. If he's running the EPA, who needs clean water standards? With Kid Rock in charge, you could expect nothing less than a rollback on every environmental protection in the book. Because who better to keep our lakes clean than some guy who thinks beer cans are practically fish food? For the DEA, who else but El Chapo Guzman, the infamous drug lord, in a twist that seems as believable as it is outrageous. Yes, the guy who literally built an empire on trafficking. He's perfect for an administration that wants to get tough on drugs by putting the toughest drug lord in charge. Imagine his DEA orientation speech. We'll cut down on drug trafficking by monopolizing it. And the cherry on top, Rudy Giuliani as White House gift shop manager. If there's one man who knows how to sell bizarre, unwanted trinkets, well, it's Rudy. Imagine Giuliani's pitch to foreign dignitaries at the White House shop. Get your official 4 Seasons Total Landscaping Snow Globe. Limited edition, only $24.99. With his knack for creative press conferences, he might even hold a few sales events behind a dumpster in the back alley. But let's get back to Matt Gaetz. Even some Republicans like Ted Cruz are hesitant to endorse him. And you know things are bad when even Ted Cruz, who has supported nearly every controversial Trump move, says we need to vet Gaetz. When a man who once refused to fully denounce Trump's grab him by the you-know-what comment is raising an eyebrow, you know that there's got to be something wrong. Cruz's reluctance isn't surprising. In fact, he's not alone. We've heard from some number of senior Senate Republicans who reportedly vowed that they would do everything in their power to block Matt Gaetz' confirmation. From Susan Collins to Lisa Murkowski, many Republican senators are sending signals that this nomination might be a bridge too far. Let's not mince words. Gaetz is quite possibly the least qualified candidate for Attorney General in modern history. He lacks prosecutorial experience, has no serious background in law enforcement, and oh yeah, he's been involved in his own share of scandals. In case you need a refresher, this is the man who has been investigated for alleged sex trafficking of a minor. He's the congressman who allegedly showed photos of young women to his colleagues on the House floor, describing his conquests. Imagine a Department of Justice led by a man who, in any normal scenario, would struggle to get hired as a DOJ intern, let alone run the department. And what would Gaetz even know about the DOJ's responsibilities? We're talking about a man who probably couldn't secure a paralegal job in any reputable firm. As former Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman pointed out, Gaetz probably wouldn't even pass a background check for a lower-level DOJ role. But sure, let's give him control of the FBI, the DEA, ATF, and 94 U.S. attorneys' offices. The Attorney General oversees an entire institution dedicated to upholding the Constitution and maintaining the rule of law. This role isn't about pursuing petty grievances or personal vendettas. It's about ensuring justice for all Americans. Yet Gaetz, with his history, is about as far from qualified candidate as you can get. Harry Litman, a former DOJ veteran, summed it up perfectly when he said Gaetz is a kick in the teeth to the DOJ. This isn't just a bad hire. It's an assault on one of the most critical pillars of our democracy. What does it say about Trump's administration when the top DOJ candidate seems to be chosen for his loyalty, not his qualifications? It says Trump isn't interested in upholding justice. He's interested in bending it to his will. By appointing a loyalist who's steeped in scandal and controversy, Trump sends a clear message. The Department of Justice exists to serve him, not the American people. And with the cabinet of chaos, this isn't just about Gaetz. It's about a whole administration that's built to shock, provoke, and dismantle rather than lead. Imagine the scene: Kid Rock drafting environmental regulations, El Chapo fighting the drug trade, Nugent pushing more guns, and Rudy Giuliani running a gift shop that sells presidential snow globes. This isn't just a lineup of incompetence. It's an intentional slap in the face to American values and democracy itself. At the end of the day, we can grimace at the absurdity, but the stakes are real. When the U.S. Attorney General is someone more interested in conspiracies and revenge than in justice, that's a threat to every single American. This isn't just bad government. It's a move that could warp our entire justice system. And while we can't joke about it, we can't afford to ignore it. Because if Gaetz and his cabinet of chaos are the future, we're looking at a justice system that's anything but just. It would be completely dysfunctional, and that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.